Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Brother and the Man edition. And we're a week away from the season finale of America. And we're going to pick that up right now.
Happy Wednesday. I don't even know what day it is.
I know it's been that bad, but yes, thank goodness it's Wednesday because we're one day closer to the weekend. How are you doing?
Not too bad. I'm not going to complain. Housekeeping, always housekeeping. So, we were going to record. We're recording tonight, Wednesday, October 28th. So exactly less than 1 week, not even exactly anything. 1 week from the election. We were going to record last week, and we were going to try to record maybe this previous weekend. We really wanted to get out in front of this now that we were close and things were sensitive, and then the reality bit us in the butt. So we both work in IT, we're both in management, and sometimes we don't get to call our own hours. I specifically had the worst week I've ever had in my IT career. And I'll save the details, but a week ago Tuesday, I was woke up at about 3 a.m. and I went to bed the following night about 3 a.m. I was up for about 24 hours, barely made it to the weekend, and still working long hours this week, although I did carve out some time for this tonight. So things are getting better, but it was really, really bad. And so, it's for us, and we didn't get to record. Apologize, but I don't think anybody cares. What do you got?
Well, same here. Probably the last 2 weeks have been the worst weeks of my career as a manager. Had one person move because he's entitled. Then another person got shingles. And so it was pretty much just me running the whole show here. And then I got to manage all my other offices in California. And that's when everybody wanted everything. We'll save the details, but I've made it this far. I'm just trying to count down the days till, well, I was supposed to go to Lake Tahoe, the family and my wife, my son, this couple that we only see because our sons are both 6, and my wife's mother-in-law, or her mother, my mother-in-law, we were going to go to Lake Tahoe, but it pained me to have to cancel that trip because of COVID-19. But I'm still taking the days off, and I'm just trying to make it till then. But otherwise, all good.
It's bad. It really is bad. Now, one of two things goes on. There was a spike in April or March. There was a spike, in I guess June, and oh my gosh, and then things calmed down. And about 2 weeks ago, they started talking about how it's another spike. But now I read an article this week that talked about it's not really a spike. It's more like a wildfire. It's everywhere. The numbers are off the charts, and they're attributing it to cold weather and shorter days, less sun. The sun may have been helping us all of this summer, and now that's over. And now it's everywhere. It's seeded, and it's ready to go. Same thing is happening in Europe. So it's bad. Vaccines are coming, but we don't know how effective they will be. It could be in for, quote, a long, dark winter, or it's all politics. I know one person that I trust who works at a BJC health system in downtown St. Louis, a very large hospital system, and they said about a week ago, 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, I get it secondhand that their hospital was largely empty. That's the one thing that they could say for a fact, that there were doctors that were, it's terrible. There are doctors that say it's overblown. Politics runs right down the middle of the hospital was the term that they used. But the one thing that they could say for a fact, without any kind of political spin, we are not busy as a hospital as a whole. Now, this week, I hear a lot of things about how hospitals are being overwhelmed, that people are coming in from rural counties to regional hospitals, and those regional hospitals are overwhelmed. I haven't heard a new update on whether that has significantly changed, or maybe these reports are political. Maybe everybody that is anti-Trump is wringing their hands as loudly as they can to try to build that anti-Trump meme so that everybody will be inclined to blame him and vote against him. I don't know which is the case. Right. I'd love to know the answer.
Well, one thing I do know, and this is not to be political, I just go by what I was told or what I heard. What I do know is the election is this coming Tuesday.
And it's true.
Have a vaccine. And I was told we was going to have a vaccine by then. So
the head of Pfizer said today that there's no chance He made it official. No chance for them to get their vaccine out before Tuesday.
I kind of figured that was going to be the case. And so, honestly, I think we're still right on schedule for sometime next year is when we're going to get a vaccine.
I think that they'll drop. I'd be willing to bet, and I laid this all out. Absolutely, I think they absolutely will drop. A vaccine will be approved within 3 weeks of today. Now,
You,
let's say by the
you
end of
think so?
November. Yeah, we'll have a vaccine candidate that's approved and has shown some effectiveness and a fair amount of safety, and will be emergency approved before Thanksgiving. I'll call that shot. That's less than a month away. I don't
Okay.
think that we will see it in mass usage until next year. But I think first line, people will start to see it between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Teachers, doctors in hard hit areas, however they deploy it. Now, that is with a giant caveat that, post election results don't throw some sort of monkey wrench, like somebody loses badly but is still in charge for 2 months and decides to burn it down or something. I don't know
Oh
what'll
man.
happen.
Right.
Anyway, but we'll get into all
Let's
that.
get.
This is going to be, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, let's get into the show.
Let's get into the show. It's going to be a short one too, folks, because it's Wednesday night and we still have a job to do tomorrow. What do you got to drink? Anything? It's a
I
weekday.
do. It is a weekday, but I still try to have something. And so, what I actually have today is it looks clear, right? It's actually
Vodka.
gin. It is aviation gin, and aviation gin is Ryan Reynolds gin that he actually just sold for $620 million, I believe. But
What is
I'm
it
not
with
a
you and
I,
these in celebrity liquors?
well, some of them are actually pretty good. Like I told you about George Clooney's, the Casamigos. That's actually, and I'm not a big tequila drinker, and it's actually very good. Like that's a tequila you can sip on. You don't mix this with margaritas and start taking shots of it. No, you sit down and sip this like a good whiskey or a good bourbon. And so this aviation is very good. And I'm not a big gin drinker at all. I had gin martinis. I like the vodka ones better, but I decided to try this because Ryan Reynolds kept going on about it. So I decided to try it. It's actually not bad. The wife actually liked it too. It's
Well,
actually not bad. Now I'm not drinking the rocks tequila because anything that my Terramana tequila is like the rock. Come on, it probably is not that good. I mean, come on. But this is not bad. It's okay. It's not going to stay in the rotation because it'll probably be every now and then because it's gin. Always got to have my Gentleman Jack or my Johnny Walker, but this is not bad. I got some Buffalo Trace downstairs. I'll probably drink that on the next show.
it's a very complicated answer.
You asked what I was drinking. I told you.
It's a fair answer, not a problem. I'm drinking a Moscow Mule without the liquor, so it's a ginger beer, the
Oh,
hard
okay.
stuff. But like I said, I got to be up in 7 hours, so we're gonna keep it light and tight.
Gotcha.
But it does help with the sore throat, which I don't have, and I do not have COVID, as far as I know.
Oh crap. Okay.
Now,
Here we go.
allergies are really bad right now, so I get the
Mhm.
phlegm, but I've had that for a month, so whatever.
Okay.
All right, so let's see, what can we talk about tonight? Have you any suggestions? We talked about some basic categories, but it's freeform. I'm going to give us an hour, and then I'm going to cut us off. So we're 8 minutes in. Let's keep it under an hour.
Okay.
Nice,
Let's
high and tight, like your haircut.
Hey, thank you. So I know one thing that we should probably talk about, and it may be on your agenda, it may not, but brothers back in Trump.
Brothers back in Trump. Brothers for Trump.
Brothers for Trump. So,
So you do it because I can't.
so we've had. Okay, look. First of all, here's my caveat. Like, you vote for whoever you want, right? It's not on me to question why you're going to vote for someone unless you decide to come at me on the same opinion or you decide to put it out there why you're doing it that makes whatever sense to you, right? Otherwise, you vote for whoever you want, right? And this wasn't necessary. Well, with 50 Cent, let's start with 50 Cent.
50 Cent.
50 Cent, and 50 Cent, and this is actually comical. Like, you can't make this stuff up. So 50 Cent, I guess early in the year was like, yeah, Trump, blah, 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 let's not vote for him, blah, blah, blah. Then he saw Biden's plan, which most people don't understand tax plans, but he saw Biden's tax plan. He was like, what do you say, 62%? F that, I'm voting for Trump. Right? So then everybody starts coming at 50 Cent. All of a sudden he ain't black no more or whatever, and get all types of sellouts and coons and all that. Then Chelsea Handler dives into the fray. And as you remember, Chelsea and 50 Cent used to date. And she was like, yo, if you change your mind, I let you hit it again. That's we can try this again. I let you hit it. My number's the same. You call me because I call yours. Your number ain't the same no more. As if they can't get a hold of each other on the DMs on Instagram. And so 50 was like, all right, screw it. F Trump is what he did. So the
So
power of
that is so 50 Cent.
it really is. And the power of the pool to change your vote like that. Chelsea Handler must have the ill na for 50 Cent. I don't know what's going on. So you have that nonsense with him. I'll let you speak on that before we get in probably the more poignant one in a moment.
Yeah. I mean, I got nothing. The only question I have is, so you said he doesn't understand tax brackets, right? So when you hit a tax bracket, you don't pay 62% on all your money. You pay 62% on that portion of your money that is above that threshold. But for him, no, maybe not for him. Is 50 Cent really making millions of bucks right now? Is he really hauling in treasure that he's going to get taxed?
Well, yeah. Well, you think? Well, he does have things like I think he created that show Power, and anybody listen to the show. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought he was the executive producer. That was his concept. That's in rotation, and then all the little spinoffs from it. He's making money off of that. I think he put out some recent music here soon. So I mean, he's got a hefty amount of money that should be rolling,
Okay.
right?
I'm not getting a lot of 50 Cent on my playlist recently, so
right.
Maybe I'm a little surprised.
His older stuff is better though. That first album was hot. I'm not gonna lie. It was, and like I don't despise 50 Cent. Like his first album was great. The one after that was marginal. Everything after that I think is trash, but that's just me.
Okay, so Brothers for Trump, and then 50 Cent, and we already talked at great length on previous episodes about the madness that is Kanye. So we can't tell right now. I can't tell for a legitimate fact if he's pro-Trump or he's pro-Kanye or what the fuck the difference is. The presumption is that the dude is just straight up crazy, or he's doing what little part he can to try to shave a couple of votes off of Biden so that Trump can maybe squeak in. But it wouldn't surprise me.
I can't call Kanye. I can't. I'm to the point where I'm done trying to. I think I think he's bad for politics in general. Like you don't want anybody that bad shit running for president or even talking politics. Like Kanye is off his gourd because you never know if he's serious. You don't know if he's had his medicine. You never know. And like it's actually starting to make me mad. Not because of who he may support or what he's trying to do. It's making me mad how he's putting himself out there like that in order to act this way. Then he gets mad at Jennifer Aniston because she says, hey, this ain't a joke. Don't vote for Kanye. That's not funny. He claps back and says neither was friends. Now, as a brother, I have to agree with him on that, but because I couldn't relate. But
Morgan Ace will call you out on that.
She probably will. Don't hurt me, Morgan. But no, like this is the I can sense vitriol towards Kanye because to me, this is coming off like it's a joke. There's already if you listen to former President Obama and some of his speeches that the current president Trump doesn't take the job seriously, right?
I don't think he's capable. I think he thinks he does.
But he's the president, right?
Yeah.
So you don't need another person that I don't know how seriously we took him to begin with, except that we listened to his music. I don't think you need that also. Like, who is his run-in mate?
He didn't have one. He's not on any ballots hardly. It's a joke. But if people write him in, or if he shaves some votes in some states where he is on the ballot, it could make a difference. I still
got to agree with Jennifer Aniston. This isn't a joke. This isn't funny.
No, it's not. I think it's alarming. And look, between COVID and the crisis at work and this election, I'm not sleeping hardly. I mean, I'm screwed into the ceiling like a light bulb half the time anymore, because I'm worried to death because I keep seeing the videos. They play them on CNN. I don't know why they play them, but the polls all show Biden up about 9% right now. he was up about 11. That means that he's got a margin of error that's larger. Excuse me. He's got a lead that's larger than a margin of error, both in battleground states and nationally. Nationally doesn't really matter, but he's also lost a step or two, a couple of points, depending upon the poll. And after the last debate, Trump was more presidential, which is not saying much after the last debate. And they keep
Right.
playing videos from 4 years ago where Hillary Clinton was up like 12 points, 20 points in some polls, and there was no chance. What does Trump need to win? Oh, he needs a miracle. Well, he got his miracle. They also say that they've corrected for those things. They've taken into account blue collar workers that are afraid that their industries are dying and are shifting to Republicans, for evangelicals who are going to vote for Republicans and generally didn't, for low education white men who are going to vote for Trump where they hadn't 4 years ago. And those people were written off. They also presume that more people of color are going to vote, more people that are young are going to vote, more suburban women are going to vote, more Republicans are going to vote against their candidate, moderate Republicans. So they say their polls are more accurate. I'm scared to death. I have no idea what's going to happen, but we'll get into those things later. We're talking about brothers selling out.
Brother
But
selling
the
out. Right.
but the point is that Kanye could be dangerous because we really don't know what's going to happen, and it could come down to 1 or 2 percentage points in Philadelphia, or excuse me, in
Mhm.
Pennsylvania, or in Florida, or in Michigan. We just don't know what it's going to play out like. So yeah, Kanye playing games, whether it's intentional or not, is
If I
disconcerting.
if I see Kanye pop up, I'll probably watch CNN that night. If I see Kanye's name pop up on that list as like, and polling right now, Trump with 40%, Biden with 37%, Kanye West with 2%, I'm probably going to lose my shit. I'm going to be honest with you. It's like this is what we've come to as a country.
Well,
But
but
the,
there's a demographic. How many black men? Um, we've had two people recently as guests, both of which, for different reasons, have said Biden is an appeal to me. That's the way I took it. As an African American
right.
male, Biden not got much for me. So why the
Mm.
fuck should I vote for him? I read another article this week that was a summation of exactly that point. Biden doesn't have anything for me. I might as well vote my financial interests. I invest in the stock market. That means that I got to vote for Trump because at least my tax rate will be lower. That's essentially 50 cents cry.
Right, correct. That's his cry. And
So
look, and I guess I'll have an overarching thing to say after we talk about this next person.
just
But
drop him.
so Ice Cube. So
No
Ice Cube.
Vaseline.
I was about to say that, Mister No Vaseline.
You've
Look,
got plenty of Vaseline.
so here,
I'm all lubed up.
so here's what happened. He, what happened was it got released by one of Trump's people that he was it Katrina Pearson? She said, "Thanks for working with us, Ice Cube.
Yep.
Thanks for working with us, Ice Cube. My son is beating on the wall. I guess he can hear me. I'm in the room next door to him." But he apparently what happened was Katrina Pearson came out and was like, "Thanks, Cube, blah blah blah." Right?
Yep.
Then everybody saw this and there was like, "What's going on?" And
Cube
so
moved to the house.
Cube decided that he was going to speak on it, and that's its right. And he was like, "Well, number one, I'm not working with them. I didn't talk with Trump himself. Here's who I talked to, and here's what's going on." Well, and here's where it starts. So I saw him on Roland Martin, and it kind of seemed like Roland Martin kind of attacked him for that, even though he did not talk directly with Trump. Right? You can tell this kid is bothering me with knocking on this door right here, but I'm going to ignore him. Or I'm
Yeah,
going to
just
go
let
over
it
there.
go.
I'm gonna put him to sleep here in a second. But no. So it seemed to me, it seemed I watched the Roland Martin thing. It seemed like he got attacked, and they brought another lady on there, and she was going, "Oh, well, do you realize that I got death threats and all this?" I feel I here's what Cube did say, and if you remember, Mike Shaw, and we got to give him credit for this. He said this on the show. Cube said that what I have is this was presented to both sides. My plan is not partisan, and the Trump camp, their people decide they talk to us. The
Mhm.
Biden camp was like, can we wait until after the election? And if you remember, the one thing Mike Shaw has been hammering Democrats on has been like, how come we always have to wait until after the election? You do this to get our vote and everything, and then we say, okay, we're going to wait till after election, and
But there's
then
always another election 2 years later.
right, there's always another election. And to what you just said, right when that happens, it's like, oh, well, maybe next time, we get your vote and oh, we're going to get you, or we got to put this off, or something else has come up. You have nothing for me. And that's what Mike Shaw has been hammering the Democrats on. And that's essentially what happened. And so what was going on was they were talking about what's in Cube's plan and then the Platinum plan and trying to max those up. And Roland Martin was like, well, you know, I don't see what was in your plan as part of his and all that. Now, here's my thing. And I think we've seen this historically, and this is probably going to be pretty controversial to anyone that hears it. And I think one of the things that I've spoken to that you've heard me say, and I think Jason Austin said it on our show as well, is that whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter who's president. If there is something that you want to push across as your agenda, and in this case, let's take President Trump for this, you are going to have to work with the opposite side, the quote unquote enemy, if you will, right? And I just do not think a lot of black people understand that. And that's just what the truth is. I think me personally, I think Ice Cube's heart was in the right place. One thing I've always said is that Donald Trump is an opportunist, and obviously his camp was going to jump on the fact that they talked to Ice Cube or whatever the extent of their conversation was or whatever they collaborated on. You know that's going to happen, and you have to understand with someone like Donald Trump is what I've always said is go ahead and present to him what it is that you want to get done. He's going to brag about it. He's going to say, here's what I did, blah, blah, blah. You should understand that going in. The important thing is you want to get something accomplished, right?
I agree with you
And,
generally speaking. And number one, I think the internet has way too much free time. And I'm painting with a broad brush here. Twitter, Black Twitter in this case, people weren't happy that, Cube, who said he would never sit down with the president of the United States,
mhm,
suddenly sat down with the president of the United States indirectly. Um,
mhm,
and I agree with them from a certain perspective in that I think that Donald Trump is uniquely inappropriate to make any kind of deal with because I don't think the guy is capable of being that reasonable opposite that you have to work with, which is what you're talking about. I think
mhm.
that Donald Trump is beyond narcissistic and a demagogue, but you've heard me hate on the guy. I mean, I hate
Right.
that he's president,
Mhm.
and I think he's radically dangerous, and I want him gone. So I want to do anything I can, hook or crook, to get the guy out of business, and then everybody can come to the table and argue about what the agenda is going to be. Kamala Harris is super liberal. Joe Biden has generally been pretty moderate. Um, which of them are going to actually put policy into play? I really don't care. If you
Right.
go back and watch a movie that wasn't a great movie, but was good historical story about African American, the butler that lived in the White House over several
Yep.
presidents, it made a point of pointing out that how Ronald Reagan had turned his back on the South African issue and
Mhm.
kind of villainized him. And I think it was unfair to villainize him to that degree because he at least had an agenda. For him, the Cold War was the highest priority. And then, we will deal with South Africa after that if we get a chance. But we got to win the Cold War. There's no point in B if we can't take care of A. Soviet Union is extremely dangerous, and we need South Africa as an ally, as terrible as they are. That was his argument. You can discuss that historically. That's great, fine. But that was his reasoning, and it was consistent reasoning that a lot of people shared at the time. I have a similar approach. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your agenda is. Vote against Trump. I give four shits about Biden. You're voting against Trump. We all have to vote against Trump. So I agree with that. And Cube
But here's
making a deal, and I know he didn't make a deal. He put out the contract for Black America and then said, let's talk about it. And Biden did what Democrats have been doing since the 20s and
Right.
earlier,
Hmm.
hey, we'll talk about it later. Hey, I can't put you in the military. I'm only FDR. I don't have that much power. I got to kick the can. I got to kick the can some more. Usually they kick the can until a Republican actually comes in and does it, up till this last generation. LBJ took advantage of black people. FDR took advantage of black people from a certain perspective. People have been
Hmm.
taking advantage of minority demographics of all sorts for a long time, because if
That
you have a
that's
standard
that.
bearer that is
Mhm.
the establishment, then you gather all of the people that are outside of that establishment as the opposite coalition. But you don't want to actually make a move against that standard, because that would change the demographics. You want everybody beholden to you, but you don't want to piss off the moderates, and you don't want to actually shift things in a positive way, because people would leave you. Um,
Here's my issue, though.
you can't
Here's
pit
my
poverty if
issue.
there's no poverty.
Right. Here's my issue, though. People have gotten to a point to where if even if you give Trump credit for the most minute thing, or in this case, if you quote unquote talk to him or his people, everybody is quick to run and write off a person. Anybody that has listened to Ice Cube in the last 35 years knows doggone well where he stands with his politics, what he actually thinks about President Trump as a person, politics as a whole. You know this. So to try to write this guy off is ridiculous to me.
I
That's
agree
number
100%.
He's always spoken about here's what we need to do in the black community. He's been that way from the very beginning, and that has never changed. You look at his movies, he always puts that message in there as well. So
Hey,
for
go,
people to try to
just
write him off like that was just asinine.
go write or go read the contract for Black America, or with Black America, I think, and
Mhm.
you can see where his mind is. He's like,
Right.
look, you keep saying, what do we want? And we have to be reasonable. Okay, this is a reasonable approach to what we think will help us all collectively move forward. And we got to do that, because we can't stay where we're at. And we're sure as hell not going to go backwards. So this is a thoughtful document
Mhm.
that answers that question. And maybe we should all
Right.
ponder it. And look, somebody's going to win this election, Republican or Democrat, Trump or Biden. So which of you guys wants to talk to me about it? Talk to us. Talk about the document,
Right.
whatever. And Trump's people were smart enough to go, yeah, we'll do it. It doesn't make a
Mhm.
difference. And I think that it is a bit of a sucker play
Right.
for him to get pulled in that way. But
It is, but you know that going into to having any conversation with Trump, like, come on, you got to know how he's playing this game by now. People know
no,
that.
I get that. That's why I'm a little disappointed in Cube and his people to
I'm not.
let that
I'm not.
happen.
I'm not upset with him about it, and the reason why I'm not
I'm
upset with him about it is because, and I kind of agree with his answer. And like I said, number one, Cube didn't say he was voting for Trump,
nope.
and that's what people are acting like. It's like,
Yep.
no, I had a conversation because here's what I want to do, and people ran with it as ignorant as they were.
Yep.
And my thing about it is, it's like with
He's no more a
like
Trump guy than
he never
Steve
did
Harvey
that.
was 4 years ago.
Right, exactly. He's not. And so that's the part that I really do not like. It actually upsets me because it's like, come on, this is ridiculous. And the one thing that Cube said, like I said, Roland Martin, I felt was very unfair in his interview of Ice Cube. Because like I said, I watched all 37 minutes of it. It seemed like a hit piece to be like, what did you think you was doing, brother? Right. And they was like, well, why are you doing it right now? What about all those other years ago? Where were you? And Cube answered it, and he said, well, I was off being an entertainer. I thought other people were going to take care of this. Obviously not. So I decided to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the thing about the timing, yeah, the timing may or may not look bad, but hell, how long are you supposed to wait as a black person to be like, hell, you've been pushing me off this long? I think the Biden camp did kind of drop the ball and not being like, yeah, let's talk, instead of being like, hell, let's push this back. Like, an
Absolutely.
opportunity. Trump is always going to jump on that, and so, and that in leads into some of my issues with the Democrats, because good Lord, you guys have no idea how to do anything strategically positive at all.
Nope.
So,
Nope. But again, that's the smart play this season, because it's not about vote for me. on Joe
Right.
Biden nearly as much as it. Kamala Harris is promoting Joe Biden far more than Joe Biden's promoting Joe Biden. Joe
Hmm.
Biden is trying to sink Donald Trump. It's the worst campaign, well, since Hillary, but it's still hopefully a winner. And I don't know that it's stupid. He's just letting Trump be Trump, and that may be
Right.
enough. And given everything else that's going on, I don't know that he could do much better than that. So well,
Right.
the die is set. My vote is already in the mail.
Hmm.
So it is what it is. It's going to play out. I'm scared to
Hmm.
death that the guy I don't want to win is going to win. Um,
Hmm.
Mentally, I don't think it could be possible. And I've said why, because the margins were so thin in a handful of states that he kind of backdoored in. But and
Right.
surely that won't
Hmm.
happen again. Black people in Detroit will vote against him, and black people in Georgia will come out and vote against him, and surely blue collar people in Philadelphia will vote against him, and he's got to lose some of those states. And if he loses some of them, he'll lose the election. I hope, I
Hmm.
believe in my mind, but man, it's just scary because it's just like last year all over again. And until it's over,
So,
and then. So we'll get into that, but I want to talk about this hat first before we
I
get to
was just about
prediction.
to. I was about to ask you about it. That is a mighty nice looking hat there. The
It's
Lincoln
actually
Project.
it's not a real good quality stitching because it doesn't look like
Oh, it's
Lincoln.
not. Well, it looks it looks better from back here
Yeah,
than what I guess it does in person.
yeah. Well, ah, that was wonderful. That's live radio for you people here on the internet. I just jammed my headphones into my microphone. Anyway, it's not a quality stitch. You can see from there. It kind of looks like maybe there's an eye, maybe there's a mustache. I
Right.
don't know, but the
Hmm.
point is that 60 Minutes did a demographic a couple of weeks ago on about 3 or 4 weeks. It was the first weekend in October that they did an expose on the Lincoln Project.
Hmm.
And I'm
Right.
a big fan of theirs. I donated to them earlier in the year. I was inspired from the piece to actually buy a hat, and I wear it every day until the election's over and decided.
Hmm.
But the idea is that number one, parties are stupid. Most people don't belong to parties. Most people that do belong to parties don't agree with their party all of the time. If you follow a party because that's your team, then you have no mind. That's really unfortunate for you. But the fact is that people that are in politics have to belong to a party because you can't exist as an independent to any great degree. Very few people
Hmm.
can. You have to raise money and you have to have support from your peers and people above and below you. And that's a party. And that's the way it is. I hope someday we'll have multiple parties, but parties exist because that's human nature, or they wouldn't exist. They've existed all through time, going back thousands of years. There's been an equivalent of a party in ancient Greece, ancient Rome, in ancient China. They had parties. So, um, the idea is that there are people who are Republican, for whatever that means, and that were big fans of Reagan and Eisenhower,
Hmm.
and come down through Bush and his son Bush, 43, and they are Republicans. They're McCain Republicans. They're Rockefeller Republicans, and they're moderate. They're fiscal conservatives. They like a strong, consistent foreign policy. They like a strong military. They want the government to stay out of your business as much as is reasonable, but to be there when there's a need. When Puerto Rico has a hurricane that wipes out their power structure, that's where the federal government can come in and help. The private sector is good, but it shouldn't be laissez-faire. That's a moderate Republican. And there are some moderate Republicans who see this guy coming a million miles away and think that he's terrible because he's a terrible person. He's incapable of executing the office in a reasonable way. That's me in a nutshell. These
Right.
guys have created a subset of the Republican Party that is anti Trump, and they are doing amazing things with multimedia on the internet and even on TV, trying to get the guy kicked out of office, trying to fight
Hmm.
him from the inside. And
Right.
it works. And one of the keys to the election is the idea that you're going to peel off some people that didn't vote for Hillary last time, that maybe did vote for Trump because, well, let's give the guy a chance, or that voted independent or just stayed home, and get them to come out and vote for Biden. And I would fit into that demographic exactly. I voted a writing candidate, Pierre Robinson, 4 years ago
Thank
because
you.
I could not vote for Hillary and I could not vote for Donald Trump. And that was a huge mistake, I think, because he's way worse than I thought. And at this point in hindsight, Hillary would have been better. I'd rather have a corrupt woman stealing from the country than what we have now, because at least she would have been rational to some degree. She would have had a mind to be argued with, and she would have been
So now,
consistent.
so now you got an irrational guy stealing from the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes a huge difference. And I don't think, well, I think he's dangerous, and I don't think she would have been dangerous. I think she would have been somebody that could have been contained to a minimal degree. Um,
Right.
but in any case, I'm in Missouri. My vote's not going to sway it. Trump is going to win Missouri. That's fine. But I voted my conscience this time. I voted Biden. I'll be part of the popular election result, regardless of whether my state is shifted. And that's what this is about. Lincoln Project, if you Google them, if you go on Twitter, hashtag Lincoln Project, you will see they post every hour or so. They are, and these guys have given up their political livelihoods. They have become vilified. The Republicans are calling them traitors. They're calling them people who are, they're collecting your money. They're going to get rich. They're not getting rich. But so I'm proud to wear the hat, even though I'm not a party person. I've never been a member of a party, and I'm not a big fan of parties. But I'm a big fan of these guys. I think that these are people carrying John McCain's legacy to a certain degree, and doing a good job of it. And if he loses, I think that at least in some small part, they are owed a debt of appreciation, if not gratitude. A lot of people on the left are hating on them because, oh, all Republicans are evil, and you were part of this that did that. That's bullshit. Fuck you. We could go back in time and find things that Democrats did that were terrible and Republicans did that were terrible, but it's politics. Things happen that are terrible.
Right.
And judge them what they're doing today. If the guy's so bad and they're working hard to get rid of him, nothing else matters. So I don't know. I'm proud to wear the hat.
Okay. Oh, good. Well, I'm proud that you're proud.
Screw you.
Well, no, it's got a
What's
nice
your
color
opinion?
from here. What's my opinion? I mean,
Yeah.
That's you. You found your reason that you want to support them. I'm good with that. Like I don't have a negative thing to say. Like that's you know me. That's what I'm about. It's like if you got a principle and you can justify it and stand by it, I am with you on that. And I think we have far too many people these days that don't stand for anything or can't justify when they want to try to vilify you. So no, I'm with you on that. And anybody that's got anything to say to you about it, they can kiss your ass. They can kiss my ass too, and I'll tell them that.
All right, fair enough. All right, so the election is the election itself. Let's talk about the election itself. It's Wednesday. It'll be Thursday by the time this gets posted. Our general plan was to do another recording this weekend. Don't know when. Saturday's Halloween. Daylight savings time kicks in overnight going into Sunday. We could find 2 hours somewhere and record something. I don't know what we'll talk about. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 3 days news-wise. So, it'll be what it is. But we will try to record something this weekend. Maybe, and I hate to make predictions because life doesn't cooperate, but maybe we'll do something on election night, or maybe we'll do something the day after the election, depending upon, we're playing that by ear. But look for something from us around election day, and we may have a clearer idea of what that is. But just in case, just in case I get hacked again or whatever, let's make some predictions. Let's see what we think is going to happen. Let's anticipate what might happen. Let's talk about where those different concepts take us and what we're worried about, and what we hope happens, and whatever comes in between. So what do you think?
I know what all the polls say right now. And I've done some thinking about this since our last show, when you laid out how concerned you were. I actually gave that a lot of thought because, I think Weffy and I were both like, chill the fuck out, right? Is what we're trying to tell you.
Right.
But it did get me to thinking, and it is concerning. I do think the election is closer than I think it is because I think there are a lot of people that are out there that aren't being counted on are the folks that saying like no Trump, no Trump, no Trump, because they know what the social stigma is if you're found to have voted for Trump. I
Yep.
think there is a hefty subset of that population out there. And so, whereas on the last show, I was like, we were going to know that night. I think I've shifted since our last show to be like, we might not know for a few days because this is going to be a very close election. The science seems to lead towards that Biden is going to win. The states will be, I think what you could see is the states are going to be close, which is going to give Trump a lot of ammo to be like, there was voter fraud and that's why I lost. We need to contest, recount the shit is what we may get a whole lot of.
Hmm.
I think whereas we saw Trump win with those razor thin margins, I think you could see Biden win with some razor thin margins in some of those states like Michigan or Ohio or Pennsylvania. I think you could see that happen. Um, like I electorally it may look like a blowout, but I think the vote is going to be rather close. I think it is. I think Biden is going to win. It seems like it's trending towards that. He should win. I think what happened with Trump, I don't think you can underscore just how massive these protests were that was going on with Black Lives Matter and more brothers being shot and people not facing justice. I don't think you can underscore that because to me, that was more than about just Black Lives Matter. I felt that was protesting the soul of this country to be like enough is enough. Those that are in power right now, those that have been in power that have neglected this subset of people, have also neglected the country as a whole. We want to see something different. We don't want to see this shit show in the White House anymore. We don't want to be an embarrassment on the world stage anymore. I believe that was more than just protesting basic civil rights for Black folks that should be rightfully enforced. I think it was about the soul of this country and where people stood. And in a lot of ways, the national response to it was pitiful.
Mm.
And I think that galvanized a lot of folks that may not have been wanting to vote or that was like, I'm down, I'm done with that. You got that subset of people that are like, I'm voting no matter what. And I know what I see right here in their minds. I'm not saying whether they're right or wrong. What I see going on right now, the national stage is not right. And I'm going to vote against that. And here's where I'm going to vote. So you've got a lot of these different ideologies that are clashing at this particular time. And I think that was terrible timing for Trump. And I think that might be what sways the election towards Biden getting the win. Because and I think Biden did a smart thing in that he's, you know what, let me not get out in front and usually do what I do and stick my foot in my mouth, even though you ain't Black. If you vote for him, he
You're
tried
right.
to. But I think for the most part, he did the right thing and he laid low and didn't say anything, is what he did. That was the best thing that he could do. And I
Yep.
think that worked to his favor and he let Trump be Trump. And so I think that right there is what will sway the election. It's going to be close. I think Biden wins because there is going to be a big turnout for him that wasn't there for Hillary. So I think he wins. The vote would be close, but I think he wins.
Okay. So I'm going to agree with you and disagree on a couple points.
Okay.
On the national stage, the popular election won't be close. It won't be close at all.
Okay.
Biden will win by 6 million people. Hillary won by 2 million 4 years
Mhm.
ago, and people laid out for her, or because of her. I think that nationally speaking, Biden's going to do amazing things in some states, um,
Mhm.
but I believe that electorally it will be close. I don't think Ohio is in play anymore. I think it's a Republican state now. Um, we can break the entire night down into, unfortunately, two states in my mind, with some spinoffs, but my eyes will be on Florida and on Pennsylvania. I don't think he can win without Pennsylvania, and I guarantee you he can't win in Florida. Excuse me, win without Florida. Um, in the last 24 hours, it's come down that Trump. So for a week, if you're on Twitter, you can see that Trump is apparently not getting any money. Biden is outspending him 3-1, has 2-1 money in the bank, something like that. Those numbers might be flipped, but Biden is doubling down in markets where Trump pulled all of his TV money from Florida. He
Well,
has to win Florida.
he had to go pay for his back taxes. He owed like 421 million.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's another whole story. But apparently that was, I don't even know how, but somehow that was forgiven today or yesterday. I don't know. I don't know. I can't keep up with it. I really can't.
Mm-hmm.
What I do know is that without Florida, I don't see how the numbers add up in Trump's favor. And he's pulled money
Mm-hmm.
from Florida. The money is there for Biden. The
Mm-hmm.
polls, which are theoretically scientifically corrected, is there for Biden. People, because of COVID, are voting early. They're standing in the rain for 4 hours, and they're young
Mm-hmm.
people and they're Black people, and they're voting for Biden. Everything looks to be for Biden. But that night 4 years ago was so scary that that's a wild card that I can't get rid of. I can't get that Joker out of the deck. So until we get actual results, I can't help walking around like I'm snake bit. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going to happen. Scientifically, absolutely, Biden should win. What I'm afraid is going to happen is what my fear has been consistently, and I'm not going to carry on like I did last time, but I just don't see how, if there are millions of people voting by mail or absentee or whatever the equivalent thing is in every state, but especially, again, in Pennsylvania. And
Mm-hmm.
Pennsylvania law says that they will not start counting those votes. Earlier, I said that no votes were counted until the day of. I was wrong. In many states, they're counting already. In some cases, in some states, they'll start counting that day. But Pennsylvania, not, I think, because they're pro-Trump or the state government is pro-Trump. I think just because of logistics and the way the law is written, the state of Pennsylvania is saying, look, we're going to start counting them on election day, but we can't start counting them until the polls close on election day. And there's lots of them. And we can only do what we can do logistically. And it's going to take several days. At the same time, Trump is doing everything he can already to invalidate the election. He
Mm-hmm.
fucked up the mail. He shut down the
Mm-hmm.
post office on purpose. He's trying to get rid of polling places. He's trying to get rid of polling drop-off places. And he's insisting, absolutely insisting, that if there's not an election result by Tuesday, maybe Wednesday morning, he's going to declare that the race has been flawed, and he's going to pop. He's making noises like he's going to reject it, although he's not going to come out and say that absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see how we get a result in Pennsylvania. So, what's that crazy dude that was Bill Clinton's advisor? James Carville. James Carville
Yeah.
said a month
Mm-hmm.
ago that he thought this would be a walk-off. We'll know by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock who won, because the numbers are going to just be so overwhelmingly in favor of Biden that the write-in vote isn't even going to matter. And I hope he's right, but I don't think that guy has not been right for a while.
No, he's never been right. I think you need to listen. The one guy on 538. I can't even. I don't think I can't recall his name right now, but I follow him on Twitter. He's usually been very accurate.
538.com. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
well, and again, he's predicting, or his website is showing an aggregate of like 9%. That's what I was looking at before you came online with me. And okay, but he was also wildly wrong. You're talking about Nate Silver. He was also wildly wrong. His polls were wrong, just like everybody else's 4 years ago. So,
I thought he predicted Trump as the
nope,
winner.
I don't
Last
think
time.
so. I could be
I thought
wrong.
he did. Okay.
And there's all these professors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this professor has a model that has been correct for the last, modern history. Going back since before he was born. When you apply this algorithm, it predicts the president, except in 2 exceptions. And here are why those are exceptions. Yeah, the problem is that half those guys have said Trump is going to win. The other half have said Biden is going to win. Those guys are split. So nobody knows what's going to happen. Generally speaking, the economy drives elections, but that's in a non-COVID year. The economy is kind of against Trump. People who are break on the economy are breaking for Biden. COVID is absolutely against Trump.
Ooh.
He declared victory over COVID in a document 2 days
Yeah,
ago. There's
yeah,
226,000 people who've died, so
and it's rising
it's exploding.
rapidly.
It's everywhere.
Hmm.
So everything should, you're correct. Everything should have Biden win and win handily, and he may win handily. But and this is my key. I don't think he's going to win handily on election night. And when we get to Wednesday afternoon and we still don't have a clear Trump or Biden victory, this is what we're going to get. And I'm afraid of what this means. This guy, he's going to go nutso. It's going to be scorched earth. And
Hmm.
I don't know. It scares the death out of me. You've
Yep.
got you've got black Second Amendment groups that are armed and marching. You've got good old boys who have always marched. Do these groups run into each other? Does somebody say something and does somebody pop a shot? You know, new people come at me because I have my hat on and I live in a pro-Trump, neighborhood, especially if he loses, somebody going to come find us because we were pro-Biden. Or
You strapped up.
I refuse. I have it. It's right next to me, but I refuse. I'm not carrying. I refuse to carry a firearm because I will use it. I'm too hot headed. You know me. I fucking rage all the time. I'd kill somebody in traffic on the way to work tomorrow if I carried my gun in my car. So,
Yeah, I don't think you should be that hot headed right
right.
there. I mean, come
Well,
on.
I am. So, no, I refuse. I have it for whatever, but for the most part, I use it for target practice.
I might have to go
So
buy another one this weekend so the wife can strap up.
I don't know, man. A lot of people are strapped up right now. I don't know that you can put your hands on one for a reasonable price. But whatever. I'm not interested in that. If things get that bad, I'll get in my car and I'll drive. Maybe I'll come to Colorado. I don't know. But if things are, I don't think things will get that bad. I'm not worried about civil war. I'm worried about civil unrest. And
Hmm.
we've had a fair amount of that this year. This is the 1918 flu epidemic, the 1968 race riots, and the 1929 economic crash, all in one year under his watch. And he doesn't want to talk about any of it. You'd think that you'd want to get rid of the guy the way they got rid of Hoover, the way they, but the way they got rid of Johnson. But it is what it is. There's a lot of people who like him. There's a lot of people that have good reasons for liking him. They don't want to see their taxes raised. They don't want to see police be defunded. There are black people who hate the idea of the police being defunded. Maybe that's a bad label for a good process, but that's what was put out there. There are people who don't have any reason to vote for Biden. They have every reason to let things go the way they are because they're okay. I get that. You have to vote for your own interests. But this guy's wildly dangerous. And God, if 50 Cent can't see the common good for the country and use a minimal amount of brain power, then I'm scared to death that there's enough people out there who share his lack of
Hmm.
self-sacrifice and mental intelligence and emotional intelligence to make the right decision. And we could end up with 4 more years of this with the guy unchecked because there's no more election to live up for. He just does what he wants.
Yeah, and I think you'll see like a 8-1 or eight, or sorry, it'll probably end up being a 7-2 Supreme Court that will end up with if he gets 4 more years.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that this week. Amy, what's her face was
Yeah,
confirmed.
confirm.
Um, man, I don't think Trent Lott will ever. Is that the guy? Jesus, Mitch McConnell. I don't think Mitch McConnell will ever be driven out of office because he's very good at what he does, and he's put 3 Supreme Court justices in 4 years. That
One
part
in
of
an
that,
election year that he said that we just absolutely can't do 4 years
he,
ago. Thou
he's
shalt not be a hypocrite.
well. I mean, he's good at his job. He does his party well, and he deserves credit. And he's excellent at what he does. I disagree with everything he stands morally, but I don't think that people of Kentucky are going to vote him out. So, I think he'll be returning whether he's a minority or majority leader.
Mhm.
But man, that fat fucker from South Carolina, I hope he's beaten and I hope he never comes back. I used to be a fan of his, and
When
I don't care if he's gay or not. I really don't. I just hate the fucking guy and I want him gone.
he reminds me, have you ever seen the movie Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil?
Yes.
He reminds me of Kevin Spacey's character in that movie.
Uh, he reminds me of Slimy. It's the only thing I can think of. He's just so. I hate to make it about physical, but his physical appearance matches my perspective on his personality. It's kind of bland, and
Right.
he doesn't sound like he should sound to say the things that he says. I don't understand the guy. I don't understand how John McCain was best friends with this guy. I don't understand how he was good friends with Gore's vice presidential Lieberman. I don't understand how these guys are all friends. I really don't. But whatever. I want him gone. Let him go back.
Apparently he's in a very close race in South Carolina.
He is. I can't think of either of their names, but the black guy that's running against him, the African American gentleman who's running against him, was very good in the debates and apparently has the money and is getting out the vote. And
Lindsay is crying about
Lindsay,
not having money there.
well, and he's also, he's wanting people to investigate. How'd this guy get so much dough? Because people donated, dumbass.
Because surely a black interloper in South Carolina should not be able.
But he doesn't even talk like that. It's more like, there's a black interloper in South Carolina coming at me, and heavens to Betsy, and that's fine if he wants to talk that way. But I don't understand. I just don't understand. I want him out. And I used to be a fan of his. I thought when Kasich, no, not Kasich. I'm tired. The guy that ran Gorvid, Supreme Court Justice that was just Gorsuch, when he was dragged over the coals, and I think he was dragged over the coals, this guy stood up for him and said, "What kind of bullshit is this? You found a woman from 2 generations ago who had no complaints about the guy. We can't even confirm knew the guy.
Oh, you're talking about Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh, right? Kavanaugh. Very good. I'm sorry. Yes, Kavanaugh. And the guy stood on principles. He made an argument that was principled. This is BS, and you're going to remember that. I gave him credit. I said it to you at the time that I agreed with him, and it is BS. I think it was BS. I think the left went after the guy with the only tool they had. They cried rape, for lack of a better term, and I thought it was BS. And again, I'm not a big fan of Cosby, but you've got to prove it. You've got to have a case that makes some sense, or you got to leave it alone. And they didn't leave it alone. They made it up, and now people on the left are hypocrites because when Biden is groping people, it's okay. But when this guy is accused of groping people with no proof, it's the end of the fucking world. Well, you can't have it both ways. So they end up looking like hypocrites and they look bad. And he called them out on that. So, okay, he's principled. No, he's not. He's the opposite extreme, because suddenly when we can appoint a Supreme Court justice at the 11th hour, maybe because we know that Trump is going to lose, let's at least get the courts packed, because it's a generation for us. So I think that's what this is. They know they're going to lose. They know some of them are never coming home. They know that this wild, crazy guy that they pinned all their hopes and dreams on is gone and probably destroyed the Republican Party for a generation. So they could be dealing with, Biden and then Harris for 8 years. They're going to at least have the Supreme Court.
Or the first 6 years you could deal with Biden and Harris, and then or the first 2 years, and the last 6 years you deal with like Harris, Robinson / Akes. We could be co-vice presidents.
Robinson / Akes.
Yeah.
Am I hyphenating my last name?
No, / we would be co-vice presidents.
Co-vice presidents. That's not a thing.
It's not, but you can she can executive order that shit. No, I'm joking about that. But no, like, you get what I mean though, because come on, man, if Biden's elected, let me not say anything because it's gonna sound bad. But all I'm saying is I foresee
him not making it 8 years. It's hard. He's in his late 70s, 78.
Right. I'm just being realistic about it.
I mean, okay, if he runs and runs again. 78, 82, 82, 86. 86 is hella old for politics.
Hella old.
Yeah. My grandmother died. She was 96. That's 10 years older. When she died, there wasn't a whole lot of person left there, right? So that's 10 years is a big difference when you're at that end of the spectrum. but there ain't a whole lot of lively, sharp.
There wasn't a whole lot of person there. Good God, man.
Dude, she was like 70 pounds, and it was sad. It was bad. She was angry all the time. She had no mental capacity. It was all emotion. And as physically she was gone. She couldn't take care of herself. Now, we're talking about time marching on, and we're talking about the difference between 78 and 98 is 20 years. That's a whole generation. He's in great shape for 78 years old. He's probably in better shape than Trump is, and Trump's the same age. But things happen. So he's around for 6 years, and then something happens. He resigns because he's not feeling it anymore. Maybe he gets a health condition. Harris. This is a very real argument. That Harris, when you're voting for Biden, you're voting for Harris as well, and you have to be good with that. I'm not great with that, but I am far better with it than I am Trump. Let's vote against Trump, and then let's see what happens in 4 years. Because the one opportunity that these guys create is a rebirth, insurrection, and a resurrection of a potential right-wing party that could be any number of things. I said 10 years ago, God, I said it, and I went back and I'm trying like hell to find the audio, but I said that the key to a national candidate writing things was someone had to be independently wealthy, like Ross Perot was. They have to have name recognition, which means they have to be some form of celebrity, and they have to be charismatic. And my mistake when I said that was because I was thinking along the lines of a Colin Powell, or maybe the owner of the Mavericks, Mark Cuban. Somebody like that would be excellent. But my presumption is that they would be principled. Instead, somebody listened to our podcast and decided that Donald Trump was independently wealthy, had charisma and celebrity name recognition, and wasn't principled. So they proved me right, because he walked into the White House because of those things. He bought the presidential office. But the good news is that much like when Hillary destroyed the Democratic Party 4 years ago and everything was broken, that you have the ability to try to build a consensus. They failed, but they've at least got a milquetoast kind of consensus, the minimal evil for all parties involved. And they came to that conclusion where the Republicans couldn't. When they were running against him, they couldn't figure out who was going to be the non-Trump candidate. If they had found that person early and gathered around him like they know they should have, they would have that person in the White House, or they would have Hillary, and at least they would have their party in check. The thing is that when Trump leaves, whether he leaves in 4 years or in 8 weeks, he is going to have left a broken Republican Party. A third of the party's gone. A third of the party's never going to vote for anybody else because they are stuck in the cult of personality that is Trump. And the end result is going to be that it's going to take another strong personality to pull those pieces back together. And until then, Democrats are going to have their way. So that's the good news if you're on the left, is that there is going to be a world after Trump, and you're going to have your cake. And socialized medicine is inevitable, because as soon as we get rid of this guy, the next person that comes in is going to be the opposite flavor, and they're guaranteed to implement socialized medicine. Obamacare is broken. They recognize that, and the only way they're going to be able to fix it is to do socialized medicine. So that's because of Trump. Trump could have tried to tweak. He didn't. And now, the pieces are broken. The plates are going to fall, and we're stuck with what we got. So if you're on the left, that's good news. And if you're on the right, you sold your soul to the devil, and, you have to pay the price now.
Right.
And for moderates, I guess we just ride the roller coaster.
Just ride the roller coaster and keep making that money.
What money? I'm not making no money.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, my wallet's empty.
Whoops.
Whoopsie. All right, so we're right at an hour.
Right at an hour.
This is mostly rambling, but hey, look, it's an episode. It's episode 12. I didn't play the crawler, so we'll play it at the end. But this is the final countdown.
Count.
You're the whitest black guy I know.
Why it gotta be all like that? Because I'm eclectic and I listen to more. I know what you think. I don't just listen to gangsta rap. And for all of you that are
No,
out there watching this, I don't just listen to gangsta rap.
no, yeah. But we should listen to gangster rap because I think I said this to you earlier. There's a niche because hip hop is not going away. In the 80s, they said it was a fad. It's not a fad. It's been around for 50 years now. And
Well,
yet
hip hop's not going away, but we
50
got
Cent's going away. Ice
well, yeah,
Cube is
he's going
going
away.
away. This is our niche. You're supposed to come in,
You
wave your
want me to
hand in
drop
the
a
air.
beat
Yeah, drop some. I don't know.
here?
Drop a deuce. I don't know.
I was about to drop a beat until you came with "When your hands in the air." That is the wackest.
Wave your hands in the air and say you don't care. I can't even do that right. I got that screwed up.
Good job.
My name is Beavis, and I'm here to say I like to dance every day. I don't know. I'm a rapper.
You are a rapper of presence, not a rapper on the mic. You're not tight. You can't keep it high and tight like this brother on the mic.
That was almost as bad.
It was not almost as bad, and I had flow with it too.
Aunt Flo is
We're
visiting.
done.
We're done. All right. Episode 12 is in the can. Look for us this weekend and with more information on a possible election night special live on YouTube. And then, we'll go from there. We have no schedule. We have no, I don't know. I'm just rambling. I'm really tired.
We do what we want.
Yeah, like he said. All right. And I think we're going to sign off now. Have a good evening. Everybody stay safe and
To
to the future.